So, again, this month, we've been building this interfaith altar. And for those of you watching online, welcome. We're so glad you're here with us during this holiday season. There have been so many beautiful opportunities to honor so many faith traditions, and there are so many more. We just had 4 Sundays, so, we'll see what we'll do next year. I'm not sure. We'll see. So this morning, we are going to be honoring and looking at, celebrating, learning from the Jewish tradition, from the holiday Hanukkah, and also from the Solstice. Again, thank you, Tilly, so much for that beautiful reading. It was just lovely. So I have to say, when I hear prayers in Hebrew, it shifts something in me. It's like there's this, I don't know, ancient memory. Maybe I was a rabbi in my last life. How cool was that thought? I just love it. So thank you. It's just deeply moving to me. And when we talk about the story of Hanukkah, one of the most important aspects of that story for me personally, when I hear it, is that really it's about social justice. It's about religious freedom. That's how it started. So thousands of years ago, the religious traditions and Jewish way of life were being threatened. And a small band of mighty people, the Maccabees, decided that they were going to take a stand for their truth. And they went up against a very large army, and against all odds, they won. And then, as the story goes, they went back into their temple, and they were cleaning it, and they realized that they only had enough oil to light their lamp for one night. And the miracle is that it lasted for 8 nights until more oil could arrive. The thing about this story, the metaphysical piece in this story that I think is so beautiful, is it's this idea that when we take a stand for truth, when we dedicate ourselves to love, to God, to light, the light in the lamp, so to speak, cannot burn out. Because when we dedicate ourselves to truth, we are in our integrity. And the word integrity comes from the Latin integritatum, which means wholeness. So wholeness cannot be divided. And when we are living from the awareness of our wholeness, of our integrity, our light shines brightly. Ernest Holmes said, "Each of us has been furnished with a divine torch whose wick burns from the oil of the eternal." So, in 1992, a gentleman by the name of Vedran Smilovic, who was the principal cellist of the Sarajevo Opera, was in his home, and he heard a mortar shell outside of his house. This was during the siege of Sarajevo in 1992, that horrible, horrible war. And that particular bomb killed 22 people who were in line waiting for bread at one of the last bakeries that was open at the time. And he felt just so overcome with grief and sadness. He wanted to do something. He was a musician. He didn't know what he could possibly do. But the next day it came to him. He dressed in his concert attire, and he went to the very place in the center of town where the bomb went off, and he began to play his cello. And he played his cello every day for 22 days to honor the 22 people who were killed. And then he continued to play his cello. There were threats of snipers. He continued to play. He played in front of smoldering homes. He played for funerals. He played in the middle of this war-torn place. He played for himself to remind himself of the truth. He played for everyone in earshot to remind them that beauty and healing and truth and light is always present, even in the midst of great pain. This incredible man, provided enormous healing at a time when it seemed as though the light was out. I want to show you a picture of Vedran Smilovic. Here he is. Isn't that extraordinary? He was, and continues to be, an inspiration to so many. He inspired books. He inspired, oh my goodness, movies and scholarships, new musical works based on his story, all from his dedication to not let his light go out, rather to bring it to others. Can we give him a round of applause, please? Thank you, Vedran. So the word Hanukkah means dedication. It's what it means. It's the title of my talk this morning. So my question for you, after sharing that story with you, is where can I dedicate myself to bring beauty and goodness and gentleness, to the hurting places? Where can I dedicate myself to bring beauty, goodness, and gentleness to the hurting places? Now, you don't have to learn how to play the cello. It could be as simple as a small gesture. It could be kindness, a helping hand. It could be the simple decision to not react with the need to be right, but simply to respond from a place of love. It could be as simple as that. That is how we do this. That is how we do this. That's how we create more peace to the hurting places. So we just had the winter solstice last night. Thank you again, Susan, for that beautiful reading. Now, the solstice is a pagan holiday which marks the longest night of the year. This time of year is the darkest. Let me be very clear. In the West, we tend to think sometimes negatively about the concept of darkness. We tend to believe that darkness can swallow up the light, that darkness is the enemy and light is what we need. But the pagan point of view is totally different. For ancient pagans, the darkness is a magnificent thing. In fact, for the ancient Celtic pagans, darkness was considered the feminine face of God, because it is the darkness in the womb that all life springs forth. All life springs forth. And many winter solstice festivals and rituals, actually across the whole year, but many of them have to do with honoring the moon. Think about it, because the cycles of the moon, they give life-giving power. This concept is very similar to the yin and yang in the ancient Chinese tradition. It's all about balance. An example for you, in ancient pagan times in Ireland, they believed that the beginning of the year started in November. It started in the dark time, and it lasted for 6 months. And during that period of time in the darkness, through those 6 months, it was getting lighter and lighter and lighter until it gave birth to the next 6 months of light. The entire cosmology in the ancient tradition of paganism and in earth-based spirituality itself, the reality for them is that you cannot have one without the other. You can't. And this idea of honoring the dark is still practiced in many earth-based religions today. And if you think about it right now, where we are in Oregon or wherever you are online watching or listening, as we speak, even in the cold winter, and it was a little chilly this morning, wasn't it? We were a little chilly, weren't we, girls? A little bit. Way deep down into Mother Earth, as we speak, plans are being made, plans are underway for rebirth. The darkness always gives birth to the light. The darkness always gives birth to the light. In the Kabbalah, which is the mystic or mystical aspect of Judaism, in the main text, the Kabbalistic text, the Zohar, It is written, there is no light except that which issues from darkness. My friends, think about this for a minute. We must sleep, perchance to dream. One of the most impactful moments of my entire life, and I have had many. One of them was being given the honor to be present for when my sister gave birth to her daughter. And for those of you who work in the birthing field, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. My sister Kelly, had been such a courageous champ. I mean, she's like a marathon runner, and she took that pregnancy in stride, and there we were, and she was laboring away, and she handled it. Everything was fine. It was good. And we were all in the room, and she's just plugging along. She's like, okay, this is fine. And then, holy moly. This woman, who's just one of the toughest humans I know, she literally said, and she's been in our teaching forever, decades. She said, I can't do this, it hurts too much. And I was like, oh no. I'd never heard her say that, ever. And I was sort of like panicked. Of course, I'm her older sister, and I'm thinking, oh, you can do this. And then I noticed the entire birthing team, her midwife, the doula, the nurses, they just sprung into like joyous anticipation. And I was like, but wait, she's in pain. And they were just like, it was like stealth, ninja, here they go. They were ready for it. And here she is shaking. She's in massive amounts of pain, which interestingly, just before birth, it's that word transition, which I love so much. But her birthing team, they knew, and they were holding the space for her. They were holding the space for her as she moved through this difficult, challenging time. And there they were. And it was such a juxtaposition. What I was observing in the room was so interesting. And then the moment came, and my beloved niece Vivian was born, and she came into the world. And the room got lighter. The room got lighter. You heard me say that a few weeks ago. I have had the absolute honor of having 4 daughters. 2 of them I gave birth to. One of them was lovingly placed in my arms through the miracle of adoption, and one walked to me through the miracle of adoption. And every single one of them, when that moment happened, out of the longing and the waiting, the pain, whatever it was, whether birth or adoption, what happened was the room got lighter. Every time. Every single time. And so what I know for each of us is that whatever it is that we are in the process of midwifing or birthing or bringing into the world, whatever it is that we are creating, whatever that is for you, if it is difficult, if it's challenging, if it's painful, if you're bored because you've been waiting so long, know that there is a birthing team, bless you, a birthing team of earthly and heavenly helpers that stand at the ready in joyous anticipation to welcome the light of that which you are bringing into the world to make this world a better place. Yes, amen. Albert Camus wrote, "In the depths of winter, I finally learned that within me lay an invincible summer." In the depths of winter, I finally learned that within me there lay an invincible summer. So as we prepare for next Tuesday night for our Christmas Eve service, and once again, I do hope you join us. It's going to be so exquisite. It's this time of year that I am always reminded of the powerful story of the Magi. The journey of this group of people who saw a star, a light in the night sky. This light which represented to them love and infinite promise, hope, God. And they traveled. This group of people traveled many, many miles, facing unknown terrain, possibly great threats at that time. There was possible scary political, unstable situations that they were having to move through, and so many labor pains to get there. And yet they didn't give up. The Magi stayed the course. They trusted. They were dedicated. They followed this light out of the darkness, and they were forever changed. Just like you and I are forever changed every single time we move from the dark into the light, knowing that the dark is simply the womb of that which we are bringing forth. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Mwah.